Welcome everybody to another month and episode and live stream of City Brew Tours Beer Club. Once again, I'm Jonathan, coming to you guys to get you beer and entertainment to all of our subscribers. I am not here alone, focusing on the beautiful Boston area, Massachusetts beer by myself. I do have Glenn with me this month. Hey,
Hey
Glenn.
everybody. Thanks Jonathan. Thanks everyone for coming. Good to see good to be here.
It's always good to be here. Always good
It is.
to,
It is.
and always good to have a drink with you. And,
And with you.
and before we even start talking about Boston, Massachusetts, all of that fun stuff, I think it's been a longer day. It's been a nice, cool weather, which I
Sure.
think means that it's drinking time.
I
So
think it is, yes.
for all of our listeners and all of our subscribers, I do want to just point out and apologize for the issue of the inserts. We're sorting that out for next month, but we are going to be enjoying the Notch Brewing Kolsch Ale first, and then later on in the live stream, we are going to be enjoying the gorgeous pumpkin from Mighty Squirrel Brewing. So let's grab that Kolsch style from Notch. I have had multiple of their beers. Their Oktoberfest this year was fantastic. So I'm looking very forward to this Kolsch style ale. And let's crack that open. Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know if we're mixing city metaphors here, but yeah, let's kick it up a notch.
Oh, there you go. I also very much enjoy that on their can, in the description is a Cologne style ale,
There you
rather than
go.
just saying it's a Kolsch, which I always
Very,
appreciate
very
when
respectable, yeah. Cologne
100%.
style golden ale.
Yeah. And that is a lovely pour. Somehow I
Yes.
I did this really well. There you
Very
go.
subtle head. Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. Nice, beautiful color.
Well, I guess since it's a German beer and they did just wrap up Oktoberfest in Munich, we could also say Prost.
Prost. I mean, we're past Oktoberfest just ended
Yeah, I believe it
on
was like just
Monday.
2 days ago. Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know
on
if it was Monday
Monday.
or they can do it through Monday. I thought maybe it ended on Sunday.
So it depends on, I actually looked this up recently. It depends on when Monday falls as to how far it goes. So
Okay.
if the Monday, it has to be like the first, or I think first or second Monday of October. So it
And I know
went
you covered
through.
some of this last month, and I wasn't
Yeah,
here then, but I'm still
that's
still
okay.
catching up to the still feel in the spirit of Oktoberfest.
Well, and that's a great style to have this time of year, as you know, not just because of Oktoberfest, but the cooler weather. I feel like that's a beer that, like, especially if you're not really into like stout season, which I know for you, stout season is all seasons.
Well, of
But
course, yeah.
it's a good as you're getting into like a little more warmy, homier foods. I feel like Oktoberfest styles are like really, really good for that.
Oh, sure.
Which they just help with that, which we do in this box. We did have a fantastic Oktoberfest from Jack's Abbeys, which the Copper Legend is one of the best out there. It's been around for long enough that it's got its own reputation and it's just easy to drink. And I know we've got a couple of our
Yeah, I
monthly
did do a
friends
few
grabbing.
pre-samples of some of the great beers we have in that box. I have not yet gotten to the Copper Legend, but
Oh,
I'm
the Copper
very
Legend,
much
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it's, classic lager Oktoberfest fest beer, just nice. But even though, a lot of the beers that we're having in this box are in the greater Boston area, obviously Jack's Abbey is just they're a little bit out there. But that's
It's
those,
on the public transportation line. It's
it's
very
close
easy
enough.
to get from Framingham to Boston.
Right. And that's where, especially with them doing loggers only, they need a little bit bigger space than probably the Boston metro area
Well, yeah,
can
you got to
provide.
have that quality control.
Oh yeah, quality control, those cool ships, you gotta have all that in there. But before we just start talking all the time, uh, what's your favorite pastime in Boston, Glenn? Have you been?
Oh, one of my
You've been to
favorite.
Boston.
I've been there. It's been a few years since I've been there. It was someplace where I would often go. I just love to see theater there. The ART is a fantastic. I mean, that's technically in Cambridge, but I still like a lot of what I think about Boston is Cambridge. And the Hasty Pudding Theater was really great. I Years ago I got to see a preview of a Spalding Gray show there right
Oh,
before it went to Broadway, which was really cool.
that's fun.
Um, but yeah, theater. It's funny since I really started diving into beer. It's probably been 20 or 30 years since I've been to Boston, and so. But this is making me already want to go back there. I've been to other cities in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, but I have not been to Boston in many years. And
Which, yeah, I mean, and obviously everyone thinks of Boston and they think of, Sam Adams, obviously, like
sure, sure,
Boston Beer Company. But I mean, beer's been in there and around that city for a very long time. And we're gonna have a lovely guest today that's gonna be able to tell us about Boston, running tours there, kind of getting us a little bit of an insider of kind of seeing that growth over the past, especially 12 years of that Boston scene. But I know I've worked in Boston multiple times, even led tours for City Brew Tours there. And the beer scene is really good. But I mean, it's hard because like
yeah,
in Massachusetts, they're all over. So like if you do go outside, you go to Cambridge, you go a few other places that kind of like to be in those little bit quieter spots. But I've even had some of them in like the was it Dorchester Brewing, which is a little bit further south.
sure,
And then going into obviously Night Shift and uh, even Mighty Squirrel I've been at,
sure.
and they're all doing really good things, and they're getting some of that distribution out there now. So you do are
Yeah.
getting gonna
I
see,
feel like it's been that way for a little while. That's
yeah,
another reason why I haven't felt the need to go to Boston to have Boston beers because in New York we're close enough. I'm sure there's some that don't make it here. That's the true with every city.
yeah.
But we've got some really good beer from small breweries here in New York. In fact, I'm especially fond of Jack's Abbey and Night Shift. I've had some great stuff from both of them, and this is great to get this box and get to know some of the other
Yeah.
smaller breweries there as well.
Well, and I think it's great, especially for breweries like Mighty Squirrel, which you may or may not know, or maybe like, oh, I've heard of them a little bit.
Yeah.
They're just starting to kind of come down a little bit down into the New York market. So for us, it's great. For everyone else
Yeah.
listening, sorry, RJ, probably not quite down to Athens yet, but maybe soon. You never know. Never know what's going to happen. But it's kind of fun to see these breweries that are start really small and then kind of are getting into that distribution model, especially as different laws are starting to adjust and change. Where like even here in New York now, distilleries and cideries, just like breweries, can ship directly to customers. So that law
Right. Right.
just
Yeah.
passed like a couple weeks ago. So a lot of states are starting to see that happen as well. So hopefully we're going to see a lot of these breweries they normally wouldn't be able to get, you will get, and this is like your sampler. So you're like, I got to go to Boston, and now let me see what else we can get from these guys as well.
Jonathan, I've never been on an episode of the show where I haven't thought I got to go visit that city now. That's a wonderful thing about this show is that with all these different cities, like okay, well, I have to go to the source because we always talk about everything that's great in those cities, and like okay, well, just what we were talking about, like I can't believe it's been that long since I've been to Boston, and I need to go back.
I mean, fun. That's the fun thing is, especially like researching this. Not only are we getting beer and like, oh, I gotta go to that brewery. I gotta go to this brewery.
Yeah,
There's also fun things of like, uh, the fact that Boston, known as Beantown, which I had no idea. Because everyone loves baked beans,
yeah,
apparently.
it's from the candy, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. It's so weird. It's like apparently people like baked beans with molasses in Boston. Um, and
Okay.
and then obviously you have like the Boston cream pie. And the Fig Newton was named actually. after the city of Newton in Massachusetts. So a lot of food, even though we think of like Sam Adams, we think of beer when we think of Boston, and probably sports. I'm not, it's all sports ball to me. You know
Well,
this.
sure,
We've
yeah,
talked about
they're
this.
but no, they're a very big, proud sports town,
Yeah.
and very yeah, one of those places where they're not fair weather fans. There, they
No.
support their teams no matter how horrible they're doing,
Yes.
even
Yes.
if they are horrible for decades upon decades. I do know that.
Which
I saw
I,
Fever Pitch.
which they won. That was a great movie. You know,
Well,
they,
but that ending wasn't in the movie
no,
until it happened.
right.
They'd written the movie for them to lose, but then that year they actually won. So like, all right, I guess we're gonna have to put a new happy ending on this thing.
Yeah. Which, I think that's the beauty of Boston, right? It'll just throw a curveball at you, pun intended.
Yes,
And make you give you
I saw what
and
you did there. Yeah,
yeah, give a nice time for your visit over in Boston.
yeah.
But we can talk about all these foods, all these beers, but I think we should do some fact checking, and we're gonna bring on our
Okay.
guest. We got Chad with us today. Some of you may know Chad. You may have seen him pop in and around the City Brew Tours Beer Club. Some of the holiday live streams, especially if any of you guys go on to the Happy Hanukkah live stream, you may see him there. But not only is Chad our leader, captain of the ship over at City Brew Tours, he's also been over in Boston and even led the Boston Beer Tours starting over 12 years ago now. So Chad, come on, let's have a drink together.
Hello, guys.
Oh,
Thanks for
Hey,
cheers.
Chad.
inviting me.
Of
Love talking
course.
about Boston. I
Boston
even
and
I even broke out the OG Boston Brew Tours before City Brew Tours was a thing. This was the tour guide shirt back before City Brew Tours.
just classic. What is that? Boston and Burlington, right? Just the two
Yeah,
cities.
Boston, Burlington, and a brief Portsmouth Brew Tours that I didn't commit to a van, but that's a different story for a different
Is that
live
is that
stream.
Portsmouth, Massachusetts, or Portsmouth, New Hampshire?
Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Ah. See, I always call it Portsmouth, but I know it's Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I know that's the Midwest in me that pops out periodically. But I know it's Portsmouth. But Chad, welcome. I know you've been on here as a host, but because we're focusing on Boston, the greater Boston area, Massachusetts, you've started the tours there. I thought this was a perfect opportunity to have you on as a guest. You get to enjoy some drinks with us. But for those that don't
I'm
know
ready. Of
exactly, I know, right? And did you already crack open the Kolsch?
course, and I'm drinking it I'm ready early for Hanukkah. I
Oh,
got
there
my
you
John
go.
Dreidel glass, so I'm ready to go.
Laheim. But as we, before we just like go through everything, I think the people want to know the important questions of how did you get into doing tours in Boston? You can mention Burlington as well, but like, what is your whole beer journey that has basically birthed what we're doing now with City Brew Tours Beer Club? It's been around, you've been doing this for a very, very long time. I don't even know where to start, but you can start your journey at any point. How did this all happen and kind of where are we where are we at now?
I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna try doing an abbreviated version of the story. So just like the quick
Okay.
highlights, and let's see how well I can do this. All right. It started with me wearing German lederhosen in Burlington, Vermont. Just got back from going to Oktoberfest, fell in love with beer, realized it was a bad brewer, decided, okay, let's showcase other breweries. So bought a van from a minister in New Hampshire when I was 21, decided, oh wow, this is really fun, quit finance, moved down to, did it in Burlington part-time, realized Burlington, I need to go open Boston because I had a girlfriend there at the time, and it seemed like the most logical next step for brew tours. And so 2012, opened up Boston, got rid of the lederhosen. No one wanted to see the man thigh. And then from there, we just expanded corporate and franchise locations. That was pretty good. That was like 1 minute.
That was a really good. That's
Yeah,
really good.
I think, and he's not joking about the lederhosen. I've seen pictures.
No, I've seen them too as well. Yeah. That's I mean, I think that is the quickest City Brew Tours pitch I have ever heard. Which
Did it still capture the essence
oh yeah.
of it? Okay.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I mean, obviously we have like a whole hour, so we could get in really big detail. But
I'm just impressed. I'm just impressed it got started in 2012 because I figured that was just when craft beer was just starting.
2008.
Boston, 2008.
2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's really, I don't think I really started to get into craft beer until about 2013, 2014, because there was a bar, or actually might have been 2012 when I was just starting, there really started to see bars with craft beer in it in New York. So 2008, yeah, I'm very impressed about that.
Burlington was ranked when I opened #4 beer city in the world per capita. It had 6 breweries in its city
And now is it more
center.
like 600?
And you used to be able to drink as much as you want at each of these breweries for free because they give you like 2-ounce tasters, like at Magic Hat. And people would spend an hour, 2 hours just tasting 2-ounce tasters, then going to the next place and then the next place. It was completely free. It's fucking mad.
That's breweries do not do that now. They're like, oh, three ounces, that's $6. All right, thank you. Which again,
in 2012, if we're talking Boston, like that's when they call it the class of 2012 in Boston. So like Night Shift was founded in 2012. Idle Hands was founded in 2012. Jack's Abbey was close. I think that was 2000. Not just 2010. Who else? Mystic was founded in 2012. RIP. So a bunch of breweries opened in 2012. Night Shift having shared, it was in like this storage unit and it shared a wall with Idle Hands. And I used to be able to make a joke that I was going to take their kidneys because we went to this area of Everett that you would just not ever think of going to do anything like visiting a brewery. Now it's this beautiful facility, but
yeah, I've been to the new Night Shift facility and it's not to give a pun to our beer next, but it's a gorgeous facility. But I'm all about puns. You'll get used to it, Chad. You'll get used to it. But I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing is, especially, and we've talked about it on the live stream before, is right around that 2012, 2013, 2014 is when you see, especially in the Northeast, all those breweries pop up because a lot of the laws of you can have your tap room and brew house in the same facility because like even in New York, like you couldn't do that.
So Massachusetts and Vermont were kind of ahead of the game with switching those laws. Okay. That makes sense.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what year they allowed it. I know we did and it's been a hot minute since we did that Vermont box. But I know that they were one of the first ones, and even all the brewers that we talked to over in our Burlington box, like 2008, it was early. That's like, as you mentioned, 6 breweries.
In Massachusetts, though, you were able to, I mean, they had Harpoon and Sam Adams doing tastings since they started for the most part. I'm not sure when they opened. Sam Adams opened. I know when they opened, but I don't know when they actually opened their brewery tasting tour, but that was well established prior to us coming in. And Harpoon, also one of the early breweries. I think they just got surpassed by Jack's Abbey now to be the largest brewery. Now Jack's Abbey is the largest brewery, but Harpoon has had their tasting and their tour in the Seaport since before the Seaport. If you're familiar with Boston, the Seaport's like the most expensive place that you don't want to live because there's no public transportation or anything there, but it's like beautiful, gorgeous place, gorgeous and pumpkin.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Lots of pumpkins everywhere. But yeah, just know you have to take the bus if you want to get out of that area. But that's where when Harpoon went into that dry dock part of the seaport, they were the only
Yeah.
reason you would go there, or if you wanted to get some fresh fish at like the No Name restaurant, which is the actual name of the restaurant.
Is no name.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. I know I've been to the like in that area with a Harpoon. Unfortunately they were closed the day that I went there.
I've
But
been to the Harpoon facility in Vermont. There's the
oh,
Harpoon has they've got a big brew pub in Vermont as
oh,
well.
do they now? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't
No, and
remember the name of the city,
that's
but
and I know that a lot of the brews around that 2012 era, they could do tastings if you had a tour. With a lot of states, like you could only do tastings if people signed up for the tour. So it's fun to see kind of that change of, as you mentioned, there was what, Sam Adams and Harpoon, and that was like it, like early 2012s, or they had those going. But then you see a lot of those other breweries kind of start and pop up over the years, where now we have breweries that are, we still have micro, possibly some nano breweries. So what over, look, we're looking at what, 2012. So we're looking at 12 years now. What has been the biggest like change or shock of seeing doing those tours as new breweries pop up, working with these breweries? And I know City Brew Tours has a lot of affiliates within Boston because you've been doing this for so long. What's been the biggest adjustment or change or kind of thing that you've seen in these with all these new breweries over the years?
I mean, it's variety. Obviously, everywhere we're going is going to make great beer. We wouldn't have them on our tours if that's kind of a prerequisite. So you just have so much variety and you have more great beer. Like you have your OGs like Cambridge Brewing Company, Sam Adams, Harpoon. Those were like the original breweries. I remember sleeping in the van when I was like 21 and change outside Cambridge Brewing Company as we onboarded and got Boston live and whatnot. I would not doing that now, but so you have like the OG breweries that were there, and then as you guys were talking, like the new school 2012, but then you also have another now that was they're now more they're the established players, but then 2015, 2017, 2000, even 2020 2020. So there's a brewery. It's a fun story. It's called Portico. It's one of my favorite breweries that we visit in Boston. They're actually in Somerville, and that brewery had been contract brewing since I think 2000 and I don't know 2012 maybe 2014, and they just got a brewery last year.
wow.
So they were there for the entire like 10 plus years that we were operating contract brewing, but now they have this amazing facility in the Somerville area. So it just kind of shows you just the evolution of Boston craft beer. And then obviously outside of the Boston area, the greater Boston, you got the Jack's Abbey, you've got Widowmaker, you've got Seventh Wave. There's just so many breweries.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's also just fits in with Boston as a whole of Boston's a place of a lot of first, a lot of history, a lot of just, American history. You can go back to, it's where a lot of the founding fathers were. So the fact that it's a lot of the founding breweries that like make us recognize like American breweries within, not just Sam Adams, but a lot, especially in the Northeast, and you're gonna know Harpoon. You're gonna know Harpoon, and then they've even
Sure.
gotten so big that UFO, which was just like one of their lines, is now its own company as a
Yeah.
wheat brewery, which is awesome.
I still
But
I still mostly know them for their pumpkin beer.
the UFO pumpkin,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
I
that
don't
one's
remember
really
what it's
good.
called.
That
Yeah,
one's
yeah.
really good. I just had
That's
that one a
what that's
couple
one
weeks
I
ago.
always see around a lot this time of year.
I actually just had that one a couple weeks ago. It's still very good and holds up.
And Jonathan, Harpoon Tour, I remember that was I haven't been on their tour, but that was one of the best tours in the beginning, where you
Yeah.
used to have 20 minutes to just drink. So I would just be waiting and watching how many people could drink as fast as they could, which was just such a fun experience. And honestly, I got so much knowledge and education from their tours. Like I was jokes. We best form of flattery is that the copycat side of
Yeah.
things, and I've taken jokes that still just hit it so well from when I was running tours back in Sam Adams, when Sam Adams was just like a go-to tour destination stop, and they were one of the few breweries that even offered tours. So it's been amazing just to watch this.
Well, and even just
Even the
like,
big guys still iterating.
yeah, and even like with Sam Adams, starting off as one of the, they've been around for a long time and like setting that standard for tours, for large productions, they still are just that mainstay, obviously in Boston, but in like everybody knows Sam Adams. Like
Yeah,
they're all over. Like everyone, if you're an American, like if you're having an American craft beer, which they still are,
they
even though
are.
they make a lot of beer, if you're like, oh yeah, American craft beer, people are like, yeah, Sam Adams and Brooklyn Brewery, which technically only one of those is still a craft brewery. But just
Brooklyn is not anymore.
well, they still are. Their minority is owned by Kieran Ichiban, so take that however you want.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Yeah, and of course Sam Adams is now the biggest piece of the still the biggest piece of the Boston Beer Company pie. It's funny how a lot of craft people look down on Sam Adams as well, but they are still a craft brewery, and the ones they've acquired, I think they've done a pretty good job with.
Yeah.
The best example I always give of that was the fact that they bought Dogfish Head. And now not only is Dogfish Head still making stuff like the 120-minute IPA and the World White Stout. I remember one year there was a World White Stout that was aged in Utopia kegs,
Ooh.
which is that incredibly expensive beer from Sam Adams.
Yeah.
Uh, the World White Stout was a little cheaper. It was still like but they are really working very well together, and they're not just
Yeah.
because Sam Adams is one that cares more about quality than a big macro brewery. They want Dogfish Head to not only do what they were doing before, but just have more people get it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Sam Adams. Just everything
Yeah.
they've done for the industry. Jim Cook is the man. I've had many conversations with him, and just as I've grown my business, kind of alongside the Boston evolution, he's been really helpful. And it's crazy how ahead of the game they are with like craft beer trends
Mhm.
and craft and just other beverages that the Boston Beer Company makes is it's incredible. But I'll never turn down a Boston lager because Vienna
Yeah.
lager is one of my favorite styles of beer. And it's such a good beer.
Yeah.
But back to your question, Jonathan, in regards to like other changes, the other thing I wanted to mention is that all these breweries have kind of found their niche. I think that's an important thing too to kind of identify for the Boston market because, like we said, Jack's Abbey, right? Jack's Abbey is the go-to lager brewery, probably in the country now.
Yeah.
Like because that's all they did exclusively. I mean, they did have a sour program that was under a different Springdale.
Springdale,
That
yeah.
was
Yeah.
I think that took a back burner. I'm not sure if Springdale is still around, but
Yeah, but I think they basically created them so they could make ales.
exactly. And so Notch was found their niche by being one of the first breweries to focus solely on sessions. And so all of their beer is low ABV beer, and that was unheard of when what is it called? Turn of the Dial or something. I think that's
Yeah.
their low ABV IPA. That was unheard of prior to them doing it. And it was like, who wants a session IPA? Everyone was drinking like doubles at the time
Sure.
that were 8, 9% Uh, and so they were like, whoa, and that became the trend. And then you found founders did their all day IPA. Like I think Notch was before founders, if I'm not mistaken, for their
So,
session IPAs, which is just kind of shows you kind of how these breweries found their niche. Like Belgian beer was Idle Hands, so they were known for like doing really good Belgian beer. And you have Mighty Squirrel. Mighty Squirrel, just like their cloud candy, which was their flagship, was
so
just
good.
like the go-to hazy as they were trying to find what their niche was. Like originally, Mighty Squirrel was just, we'll get into it later. I'm
Yeah.
blowing up the Mighty Squirrel conversation. So
Well, and
No,
maybe
but
time to transition to
I
Mighty Squirrel.
think I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I feel like that is the
I
perfect
think that
transition
yes, you gave us a wonderful segue there, Chad.
all right.
of,
Like
because Mighty Squirrel makes such good beer, and I've had the Cloud Candy. It is a fantastic one of the best hazies out there. I will argue that. And that's the reason why it's one of them that they almost exclusively canned from the beginning. But we don't have Cloud Candy. We have a gorgeous pumpkin.
A
and
truly
Mighty
gorgeous
Squirrel, pretty
pumpkin.
much
Yeah.
everything. I don't think I've had a beer from Mighty Squirrel that I haven't liked. And they
Same.
do some interesting beers, so it's like that's saying something. But Mighty Squirrel, when they first started, they were trying to like do a sports protein beer.
Yeah, yeah, I
That was
remember that.
their like original, that was what they were going to try to do as their niche, was this sports protein that didn't hit the clientele like they were hoping it would, because it was like low alcohol, high protein. But that's what they started with, and then evolved into Cloud Candy being like one of their go-to beers. And like Naveen and Henry, like they're just making some awesome
Yeah.
beers. Cheers.
So cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
And that gorgeous pumpkin.
Megan here.
There
I
is a
think
little
there is
nutmeg in
that
there.
Megan
Yeah,
here. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I've read that on a list of ingredients before,
Yeah,
but
there's
I taste it
definitely
too.
And it's not overpowering, this pumpkin,
mm,
which is that's
No,
something like with pumpkin beers, they're just too
pumpkin.
overpowering for me.
interesting. Yeah, I think some of the Imperials, I agree with you there. But some of the like the standard pumpkin ales, sometimes I find they're a little. I don't feel sometimes. I think this is the reason why sometimes pumpkin beers get a little bit of a bad rap, partly because of the ubiquity of pumpkin this time of season, and some people just want to push back on it. But also, since it is so popular, then that means, of course, there are some mediocre ones out there, and so they get a lot of the credit for it. And some of the ones like the standard pumpkin ales that aren't more of the imperial style, I find tend to be a little watery. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, there's a little bit of pumpkin in there, but they didn't wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into this. But they're definitely I have a short list of some of my favorite pumpkin beers. And the one style that this is not going to surprise anyone who's seen me on here before, because I'm a great lover of the dark things. My alternate name is Captain Porter Brown Stout. And I have had some wonderful pumpkin stouts that I don't think there are enough of, but
Mm.
almost all the ones I've had are really quite tremendous.
Yeah. And obviously a lot of places do pumpkin, usually like an imperial pumpkin ale,
Hmm.
because you add that extra sweetness. Usually they might add like copy it like a Belgian style and add some like Belgian candied sugar to create that caramel aspect they're gonna have with like that caramel pumpkin candy. And they get a little just too sweet, too
Yeah,
boozy.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
The
or they
sweet,
try,
I prefer the boozy to the sweet.
I do too. Or they try to compensate the pumpkin and add too many spices.
Yeah.
I had one recently. Let's see how this pumpkin beer goes, and I might say who it is, but it was very, very spice forward. I enjoyed it. A lot of
Okay.
people did not. It's from a New York brew. It's from Fifth Hammer. Their Swords and
Okay.
Gourds, fantastic beer. However, it
Yeah.
was very spice. So you have to pitch it as like a spiced pumpkin beer, not a pumpkin spiced beer. because as soon as you like switch that wording, then it sets that tone. This is a pumpkin spiced beer. I'm getting
Yes.
subtle spice. I'm getting that yam, that yammy pumpkin, squashy kind of I don't know, like what's the word? Starchiness in there with this, but it's still very light in body, which is what I want. So this is like this
Yeah.
is what you want in the fall. Those Imperials I like to have when it's like a little bit cooler, but this is like sun's out, it's still fall, there's foliage. Let's have this.
This is, to me,
Yeah.
this is super drinkable for a pumpkin beer.
Yeah,
Like pumpkin beers, I can have one maybe, and I'm like done. Because this
Yeah.
has, I think, a more malt backbone to it, I get. And so I think it kind of drinks like almost like a little bit of an October. I would
almost,
say
yeah.
it's like an
Sure.
Oktoberfest with a slight pumpkin, with a subtle spice pumpkin notes.
And that's what sets it aside from those like watery pumpkin ones I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's I mean it's still a slightly higher ABV than a lot of the
Yeah.
standard pumpkin ones. It's 6.1, but well below some of the 7, 8, 9 ones you get with the with or I mean I think the pumpkin maybe over 10. I'm not sure.
It's
But does it taste
I
like a 6.1? And to
no.
me, I think it doesn't. I think it tastes, it's so much more drinkable. And that's a sign of a true master of their craft, in
Yeah,
my
True.
opinion. If you taste the booze in a beer, it's usually a bad sign. That hot
yeah.
character, they're not balancing their ingredients correctly. Unless it's like a barley wine. But even a barley wine
Yeah.
shouldn't have, it's well made. It should have that balance. It shouldn't have
Yeah. Boozy.
that
I
acetone.
mean,
No.
certainly a barrel aged beer should have a little bit of that boozy note to it
Yeah.
Mhm.
because it
But
has
yeah,
the flavor
Because
of
it's
yeah,
meant,
yeah,
yeah, it's meant to.
yeah.
yeah. But like your barley wines, especially as we're coming into this time of year where you're gonna see a lot more, you want to have like that fig stone fruit, but you don't want the like alcohol, like the acetone, as you said,
Sure.
Chad.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
You want something still drinkable, not chuggable, because if a barley wine is chuggable, that's a problem. But this this one I would say is, even though it is 6%, this one's crushable. This is a
Yeah.
crushable pumpkin beer. Which I'm all in for. Like this with
It's potentially crushable, but I also think you can savor it a little bit too.
I know.
It's
I'm
like
torn.
it can go either way. I think it's full flavored enough that I don't think I'd want it to go all away all at once.
No.
And
I
I think
do.
the temperature would make a difference
Oh
in
yeah.
how you consume this
True.
beer. As this thing warms up, it's gonna open up. Like as I'm drinking it, it's opening up and it's getting more. You're getting more of those spice notes
Yeah.
to it as well.
I feel like this is the like one of those that will work really well. Now I have to go to Boston to get another one. But would be great for like Thanksgiving.
Yeah, sure,
Like have
absolutely.
this with your turkey, your
Mhm.
stuffing, your savory, but then you're also that cranberry sauce is gonna, and I know we're getting ahead of, we're only in October, still have a whole nother month to talk about Thanksgiving and beer.
Hey, it's never too early to plan.
No, but I feel like this one, because the spice is subtle enough that it would work really well with those fall like meals and Thanksgiving, and
Yeah,
or just have it with like a roast chicken and sweet potatoes or delicata squash or butternut squash. Kind of play with those notes. Uh,
sure. Or you could even have it with your pumpkin pie.
you could have it with your pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin beer is one of the like first beers in America.
That's right. George
Actually,
Washington, I think, brewed one.
yeah, so like colonial America, when they were coming over on boats, they didn't have malted barley to make beer with. So they needed another starchy vegetable, and sugar pumpkins were kind of available from the Native Americans. And so some of the first colonial beer in the US was actually pumpkin beer. Didn't have
And
sugar rims and cinnamon rims and stuff like that back then, but it was like the go-to beer of the time.
I don't know. I like to think of one pilgrim that like got figured out how to do a sugar rim on like
Yeah.
I don't know, on like a gourd. And it was like, oh, this is how
And,
I'm
and if
Drinking
anyone
it,
out there, and if anyone out there
drinks it
doesn't
out
know
of
what
the
we're,
gourd.
doing.
Out of the
if anyone
pumpkin.
out there doesn't know what we're talking about, that is actually one of the I don't know who came up with, maybe the colonialists did come up with it, but whenever they first came up with the idea of putting that cinnamon sugar honey rim on the glass of the, it's just it adds so much to it, and I think
Yeah.
it's that was a genius idea. I probably was a UFO the first time I had it that way, and I just
Oh,
think
that made it.
that's it's great because yeah, just and now there are all sorts of rims. You know, obviously, we have the tagine rims, which
Oh
also
yeah.
work wonderful with like those mango beers. But cinnamon sugar honey rim for a pumpkin beer just opens it up.
Yeah.
Chip
Yeah.
beer. That they were one of the first, I feel like, to do, Jonathan, was to do a
Oh yeah.
pumpkin. They were the first like big pumpkin beer is like their go-to in at least in the New England area. But Cambridge Brewing Company has been brewing pumpkin beer. They started in 1987 there in Cambridge, and right next to like where all the pharmaceutical companies are, because people that like beer
Mhm.
also like science. And so, but they were back to the Boston side of things. Um, Cambridge Brewing Company was one of the first breweries to introduce a Belgian triple to the US as for
Oh
consumption
wow.
too, all the way back in 1988. So, and that's kind of where I learned about pumpkin beers was Cambridge Brewing Company.
Well, and to bring it all full circle, because if we say that the first, colonials, pilgrims, whatever, it's in Massachusetts. So, it comes back. So to have a pumpkin beer from Massachusetts, we're just respecting our history. That's all we're doing. So anytime you have a pumpkin beer, you are respecting all the forefathers ahead of you that set the way of trying to make a beer because they got drunk on the ships. So when they got here, they tried with pumpkin beer, which I know it didn't taste anything like this. But I always like to just for myself, like, this is good homage to I'm just paying respect to all of our forefathers, all of the ancestors that kind of laid the foundation for us. But I
Dude,
will also say, Glenn, even though that like that sugar rim, like it works really well, cinnamon sugar rim on a pumpkin beer. Also, as a bartender, I hate doing those because
Whoa, oh,
they're
sure, I
just
understand that. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm torn when I'm at a brewery that
Well,
like,
when I come to Barcade, I won't make you do that for
yeah,
me.
yeah,
I'll stick to
I won't
the
do it
dark
for
stuff.
you, so I won't do it.
Yeah.
But anytime I'm at a brewery and they're like, "Oh, do you want like the cinnamon sugar rum?" I'm like, I know you don't want to do that for me, but it does taste so good. So if you're offering, I will do it. But
Now,
it's
Jonathan, I'm gonna. I know this is all about beer, but is it the same thing when you ask for a margarita with salt, or is that
depends on
easier?
it's no, it's they're all kind of because you have to add that extra ingredient of either
Sure.
the lime, like you got to put the lime, then the salt, or if you do like a lemon drop martini, you have to like put the lemon and then swirl it in the sugar. If you have a bar set up for that of like this is our thing, and usually if they're doing like a cinnamon sugar special like beer, they're gonna have that like set aside for it.
All
Uh,
right. So I think I found a wonderful compromise here, Jonathan. The rule of thumb here is if you ever order something with something on the rim, tip them extra.
sure. Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Uh,
yes,
I also,
100%.
Jonathan, I really want to mention something that RJ mentioned. This is because this is something I've heard about before. It's kind of fascinating. RJ says that when the trick-or-treaters come by, he likes to give pumpkin beers to the parents that are there. And I think I guess if you're in a small town and everybody knows each other and you know who the drinkers are that seems like a good idea. I would be worried about like someone calling the cops on me if you gave beer to the wrong person.
I mean, I guess if you know that they're over 21.
Well, no. I mean, yes, absolutely, you're giving it to the, but some people might be just not like beer being in front of their
Mm,
children at all. People
I
have some
understand.
weird
They
things.
want like whiskey instead of in front of their children.
Well, yes,
Exactly.
exactly. They would rather have
or
just,
wine.
hey, just give me a shot. I don't want that weak
Do
coconut ale.
Yeah,
you have any hard seltzer, sir?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. That one hurts right there, Chad. That one hurts. But no, I've actually heard of other people, especially like home brewers, like they'll make beer throughout the year and then they'll give it to like the neighborhoods that visit, do trick or treating.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. Won't work in my neighborhood, but I understand the hesitation. And
I only give beer to witches that are cause people that are coming to the house dressed as a witch.
are they witches
There
or
you go.
alewives?
Oh, I meant their alewives.
They're
Sorry.
alewives. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, full circle. Yeah, we gotta bring it back. So, as we're getting through all this beer, uh, Chad, what is your favorite activities or brew activities or whatever to do in Boston? Like, why should all of our listeners go to Boston besides to do a brew tour?
Or
To
multiple
use
brewery tours so they can take that from City Brew Tours.
Yes, exactly.
True.
But why should we come to Boston? What's exciting? What's the must-do activities with beer, food, everything,
So
sports, all of it?
Boston, I think, is just, I might be biased, but I think it's one of the most beautiful cities in the US. It's like you're going to a European city without having to go across the pond because you've got so much history. You've got the Charles River, which is just, and then on both sides of the Charles River, there's paths that you can just walk down the Esplanade. And on Cambridge side, they actually close the entire part of the road on the weekends, and you can bike up and down it, which is awesome. So I would say biking, using one of like the city bikes and just biking down the Esplanade, and then maybe hitting some of the local food vendors as well as some of the breweries. You got Democracy right in town that you can go to. You've got some great beer bars as well. So there's just, and then you got to hit the North End, get some pizza, cannolis, all the touristy stuff, and then go have a Sam Adams in front of with a statue of Sam Adams that you're staring at his grave. So that's obviously a must do as well.
I mean, that just sounds like a perfect time. If you are in Boston, are you having Boston cream pie, or is that just not like a thing?
Oh, I mean, so if you're gonna go to Boston, you got to go to the Parker House, the Omni Parker House, and that's where Boston cream pie was invented. And so, got to go get some Dunkin', and you gotta get a Boston cream pie.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously,
And they're right
Dunkin'.
next, and you can find a Dunkin'. You find the Dunkin' that's the closest to the Omni Parker House, and you're golden.
Now, I imagine this is true, and I don't know if you've had it. Have any breweries done Boston cream pie like stouts?
Surprisingly, I don't know of any. I'm sure there have been, but it seems like a perfect,
Just
like decadent, creamy stout
I would give that a try,
with
sure.
some vanilla.
yeah, a little vanilla, that's light, like custardiness,
We
some
did a
lactose.
when we did sometimes we do collaboration beers with different cities, and so we did a hot chocolate stout, and that was or hot chocolate porter, and I feel like it would probably be not as chocolatey, but it would have more of a cream
Yeah,
focus because it's Boston cream pies aren't that chocolatey. They just have the top layer is
yeah.
chocolate, so.
And
Donuts
then
Brew. They have done that. The Harpoon and Dunkin' Donuts have teamed up, and you could get like Harpoon Dunkin' beer.
which is
I
actually really
didn't.
good.
Oh, I never tried it.
It's actually really good. I've done that one, and they did a seasonal one where they did a um Dunkin' pumpkin spice. So then just full circle. So they did like their pumpkin spice latte, but as a like nitro beer.
Okay, I just did a little bit of
Jonathan's right.
a
Boston cream pie, like that's a Boston cream ale is kind of like that. I mean, there's definitely been breweries that have done Boston in Boston and made cream ales. So I guess he's technically right that
I guess
a
it's
Boston cream pie
Boston
beer has
cream,
been
yeah.
made.
Okay,
Didn't
I
taste
did,
like a Boston cream pie, probably though.
I found one, and I found a few, but I'm picking the one from Massachusetts since that's where we are. The Second Wind Brewery in Plymouth, Mass, has I don't know if it's available still, but it is an imperial pastry stout called Boston Cream Blackout.
Ah, what's in
Uh,
it? Does it say?
let's see here. It's a milk stout with dark chocolate vanilla beans and layer cake from a local bakery there.
Okay,
The combination yields a silky smooth pastry stout inspired by the legendary Boston cream pie.
there you go.
It now says the item is unavailable, so I don't know if they're still making that, but we know there at least there's
They
some
tried.
brewery in Boston. I found one from Virginia as well, but I thought in the spirit of the evening,
Yeah,
I should stick with Massachusetts because you know,
yeah. I figured
just
at least
because.
somebody would have to try
Yeah,
and
of course.
recreate that.
Who wouldn't have? Yeah, that makes perfect sense,
Yeah,
especially with all the pastry stouts that are out there these days.
yeah. And we are coming into pastry stout or stout season. It's for most people outside of you, Glenn. Most people, as the weather starts to get cool, they're like, "This is pastry season."
And you're
Um,
all welcome to my stout community. Less pastries. I think pastries have there's too
yeah,
many of those.
they're a little too
But
much, but definitely as the days are getting darker, typically the beers get darker as
yeah.
well. But my question is, as we're getting into darker days, darker beers, spooky season, we are in October. Do you guys have any like go-to Halloween beers?
Okay. So I'm gonna stick with the whole pumpkin theme because I think this is the perfect pumpkin and Halloween beer. I'm gonna say Southern Tier's Warlock,
Which is so
which is
good.
their which is I mean they're best known for the Pumpkin, which is one of the best imperial stouts out there. It's
Yeah,
not always consistent year to year, but that was the one that first made me think like, okay, this is a great beer. But they do the same company does a stout called Warlock. It is a stout pumpkin ale, and
always good.
I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, that is one of my. There's probably only about a dozen beers that are seasonal for me that I have every year. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm just drinking everything. Warlock is one of them. Also, Allagash's Haunted House for me.
Oh yeah, you introduced me to that one. I think
Yeah,
you had it
it's
on my
a
podcast years
yeah,
ago.
it's a dark lager.
Yeah.
Nice, like it's just good.
Dark lager, but in keeping with Allagash, still has some of those Belgian spices in there.
Yeah, for sure. Chad, do you drink beer for Halloween?
No, I feel like I just want like what we're drinking or something malty, like a Bock or something. Maybe a Doppelbock. That's kind of like my go. That'd probably be like my go-to October beer.
It's the classic Doppelbock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect that. That's a perfect kind of beer for this time of year. If you get the lightness, you get the malty, you also get slight boozy. Like it's a good beer. I mean,
Yeah.
and then I recently just had one that was a double bock, which I've been seeing more double bocks versus doppelbocks,
Okay.
which they're doppelbock, but think of
They're
them.
just dumbing down the name.
They're dumbing it down, but
Is
they're
it
also
bigger
thinking
than a normal
it is.
Doppelbock
It
or is
is. So it's like an
bigger
imperial. It would be like an imperial doppelbock, which is not a
triple
thing.
bock?
Okay.
But like a double bock. I just had one from like Trogs, which I know we've featured Trogs recently. But Trogs, the Troganator is a double bock, and it's like 9%. It's like a 9%
Okay.
doppel. So I've been seeing more of those, and I know that Evil Twin did a double bock last year, I think. So they usually still have like that nice malty character you want from a doppel, but they're a little more body. So you get a little more alcohol oomph.
Well, we
Uh,
got another recommendation from RJ. Black Pills from Seven Arrows in Virginia called Blackout the Sun. That sounds
ooh,
great.
a black pills.
Yeah, yeah. That is a new style I have not seen, and
I think
I want some now.
RJ, I think you just introduced us to a new style that I may not have heard of before, which is rare, but it does
Yeah,
happen.
it
I
does.
have had a black Kolsch, but never a black Pils. I've heard of them or the ideas of them, but I've never tasted one. Chad, have you ever had a black Pils?
A black pills? I mean, it's just a black. How is that different than like a Schwartz
I guess
beer?
it's not.
It's
I mean,
probably black lager, so it's probably
Yeah,
similar to it. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I would say it's probably the same as a Schwartz, but it depends on where it's like the malt and the yeast are coming from. So if it's not a German Pils, if it's like
sure.
a
Might be a Czech. Yeah, it depends on
might
the
be
hops.
Czech, then it would be
well,
more of
yes,
a then it would
yeah,
be
But the hops are going to
yeah,
be so overpowered. I feel like the hops would get so overpowered by the roasted malt that I don't know. I don't know if I'd be able. Do you think you'd be able to discern if it was a German or Czech Pilsner?
no. Not
Well,
if the dark malt.
RJ's now saying it is very much like a black lager. Yeah, they're actually interesting because you're right. There is a Czech version of the black lager that's not a Schwarzbier. It has its own name, and I'm blanking on that name right now.
Oh, I think I know. Yeah. Yeah.
And we because we have had it on the podcast.
I guess that's
Uh
why I know it. Yeah,
give
might have
me a
even had it a
sec.
month or two ago, or maybe the
Yeah.
last time I was on here. I don't know.
Let me dig the through the
That's a tamave.
archives. There
Tamave.
it is, Tamave. There it is.
Chat. Thanks,
Oh, there we
Chat
go.
GPT.
Yeah,
All right.
Tamave. Yeah, Tamave, because you have Tamaves, Schwarzbiers, black lagers are all they, and
Yeah,
even Doppelbock even, but yeah, all those are gonna be the Schwarzbier just means black beer.
I don't think I could discern a tamave beer, or I don't know if I'm butchering the name or not, but um,
I'm not Czech,
to
it's fine.
yeah, we're not Czech.
But yeah, Tamave, a Schwarzbier, and a black Pils. I think if we did a blind tasting would be kind of difficult to maybe the Schwarzbier. You might be able to knock that one
yeah,
out. But even with that, you know, as we're coming in, I think this is a good time to explore these beers. And a great way to explore different types of beers is the City Brew Tours Hanukkah and holiday boxes.
sure.
Because you're gonna have your Happy Hanukkah, eight nights of lovely beers, and your 12 beers of Christmas, 12 nights. So who knows? There might be a black pills. There might be a dark lager. There might be a pumpkin beer. There might be a imperial pills. We don't know. It's going to be an adventure. But for all of our listeners, for all of our viewers, I know some of you have already gotten those boxes because you know that they're gonna go out fast. Most of the years we do usually sell out soon. For all of our listeners, go to shop.citybrewtours.com. Get those boxes soon. We will still have our live streams. We are going to have some fantastic beers in there. But if you want friends to like try different beers, you're going to have 12 unique beers in there. And that's like the best way to try different beers. And hear from the brewers, hear from myself, possibly Chad. We'll see. We'll see what happens over the next couple months. But I know Chad will be on the Happy
I know
Hanukkah.
the gift is pretty awesome.
The gift is awesome. It is a
Not
really
socks this year, though
no.
the socks were pretty awesome.
I
It's the
actually
best advent calendar around. Yeah.
yeah. I
Can't
uh
find my socks. Oh,
I
yeah.
actually wear the socks. They're fantastic.
Only during the holidays or all the time?
Well, no, I wear them all the time. No, they're nice, lovely green socks. Why would I not? Why would I wear them only in the holidays? But I do know we are gonna have great beers. There's gonna be some additional stuff in there. And yes, RJ, already order those boxes.
Yeah. It's ahead of the game.
Get those in there. For all of our other listeners, if you are new, you know, please go to City Brew Tours, shop.citybrewtours.com, get those in there. And we're going to be talking about this the next couple months, because we're going to get some beer from cities that we have gone to, some new cities. Because just like, for the City Brew Tours Beer Club, we're going to get you beer from all the cities, all the areas, even if it's not one city or just within city limits, just like Boston. We've got that greater Boston area, even got that Jack's Abbey in there as well. So it's gonna be some good stuff as well. Uh, Chad, I am gonna pass this to you because you maybe have a little more
Absolutely.
uh insight of the CB team over in Asheville.
Yeah, so I think it's important for everyone listening to the podcast and be on the live stream. If you weren't familiar with the hurricane Helene that had went this essentially tore its way up the southeast of the US, it was probably one of the worst disasters, uh, situations of flooding in Asheville. The waters rose almost 30 feet and wiped out essentially the River Arts District as well as tons of other places. But like the River Arts District in Asheville was the go-to beer destination. You had New Belgium there, you had New Origin there. I mean, and it's so sad what's going on there. So we should probably find if offer a link or whatnot. But if you can donate, if you Google and donate to I think New Asheville. I don't remember the name of it. I'll find it. But essentially, they need our help, and so our team in Asheville is safe. Our van was thankfully parked in higher elevation, so that's safe. But some of our partner breweries did not make it, and they probably won't ever reopen, sadly, because it's just devastation. Like New Origin got pretty much destroyed. I think Wedge Brewing is also another brewery that was in not good shape. Same thing with New Belgium, even. Like they built this whole complete water infrastructure, watershed, because of being afraid of flooding, and they were so high up in the river. Like if you would look and watch people like paddle boarding or whatever down the river, it looks so far. It went above their first floor of that building, which it's incredible how damaging and how much devastation is in Asheville. But we've got other breweries that are other brewery partners. Pretty much all the breweries have kind of become distribution centers because they don't have water still, and this was over a week, and some don't even have power. But the community within Asheville has just really come together to help the people out that have really been displaced. So we are really monitoring the situation, and we're still determining how City Brew Tours is going to help support that community, whether we're going to be donating directly to breweries or to general funds and whatnot. Even though we're obviously struggling in the Asheville market as well, having to refund all tours that were or provide credits, and kind of was like a COVID situation, but within the Asheville where everyone that had tours on the books was a run on the bank situation.
Yeah.
So really, really tough situation in Asheville, and fingers crossed about Milton that's coming for the Florida, Tampa,
Yeah.
our Tampa brethrens in. So
Yeah.
concerned for our franchisees in Tampa.
No, and I've been keeping tabs on some of the breweries that we've luckily been able to partner with here at the City Brew Tours Beer Club. They are doing okay, but there's obviously some difficulties with when you don't have water or power. You can't really run a brewery. So but
Crazy.
unfortunately it is what it is. So we will, as we get updates, we'll try and keep everyone updated here as well with our about our Asheville team. in the next, hopefully less than next coming months, but within, as we hear updates, we'll keep everyone updated as well. But yeah, if you there's ways you can support the Asheville community, the Asheville breweries as things start to progress, whether it is donating funds or if any of them do ship, buy directly from them as well. Try to help out these communities and these companies as much as we can. Because that's one thing that I love about the craft beer industry is the collaboration of everyone coming together, everyone helping each other. And I know once things start to clear, roads and everything, it's everyone's going to come down and rally for Asheville because it is one of the most up and coming and amazing brew scenes on the market. Everyone I worked with down there, great breweries, great people. They just love beer. That's it. They just love beer. So we do need to help them out however we can. I do not want to end on that note, but we do want to help
Yes.
them. We do want to help them, and we do want to just continue to help with the brewing industry. So one way that you can do that is obviously reach out to help all your local breweries, reach out to other breweries in other states, see if any of them do distribute, especially all of those in the Asheville, North Carolina area. Once everything opens, go down, visit them. Also, visit the breweries in Boston. They're not dealing with a hurricane. Don't go to Florida just yet. Let's wait till let's see what Milton does. But then help them out as well. Just visit all these breweries, set all of those road trips, itineraries. Glenn, as we talk every time we're on here, we're like, oh yeah, let's do a road trip to here and to here.
Yes.
And like I
I'm
need
gonna
to
hold
drive.
off on Florida for now.
Yeah, but we will go back. We have some great
Yeah.
friends down there, especially in the Tampa area,
Oh yeah.
that we've featured. Our friends over at Magnanimous and Angry Chair. We got to support them and keep them in our thoughts, but also support them when we.
I don't think we're on the show. They were on the show, but Cycle is another wonderful one down there.
Oh yeah, another one. Tampa also has.
Tampa's got some great beer.
It's got some really good
Yeah.
ones. But we do want to keep them all in our thoughts. But then once Milton passes, let's also rally behind them and support them all as
Absolutely.
well. And with all of this, I think this is a perfect time to also say another way is just to drink beer. When you're in a hurricane, I've been in a couple hurricanes myself. Beer is a great way to get through it. It is.
Yes.
It's a great way. Not only does it help you relax, it also brings communities together. So in this time, as we're coming into Halloween, known as the spooky season, but we got Thanksgiving coming here, next month as well. Share your beer, share it, share what you got, and try and let's have a good time. Any last words of wisdom, Chad, before
If you're
we
drinking
sign
beer in
off?
a hurricane, make sure you're doing it in the evacuated that you
Well,
weren't
yes,
supposed to be
yes.
evacuating for that
Yes.
location.
Do not hunker down in an evacuation site and have your beer
And
there.
just
Yes.
drink barley wine. That's
Take it
probably
with you.
a-
Yeah.
No,
Okay. There you go.
that was not what I meant. If anyone has said that,
I just don't want to be, I don't want to be liable.
yes,
Jonathan told me not to evacuate
no,
and to just drink a big boozy beer.
no,
While
no,
my
no.
house
I'll be
gets
okay.
flooded. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes. So let me reiterate. Be safe, go to your evacuated points, follow the regulations. Once you're in the evacuated point and you're safe, then drink a nice
then
light
crack
beer.
open.
And if you're going to those spots, bring lots of beer that you can share with the other
There.
fellow evacuees.
There it is.
And
Yes.
and to encourage that sense of community.
Yes. And as our friend RJ is saying, take your beer and run. There you go.
And make sure you do both of those things.
Yes. Make sure you
don't run and forget to take your beer. Yeah.
No. But Chad, any last words of wisdom to all of our listeners, viewers, whether it's about Boston, Brew Tours, Hurricane, anything?
No, come to the Boston. Come to Boston. Come drink some beer on a City Brew Tour. They're super fun, and we hit some of the breweries that we have on the tour as that we have in our box, as well as places that aren't in the box that are fantastic. So Boston makes a great vacation spot, and love to see you on the tours.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to end this month, in this evening. Do City Brew Tours. Again, go to shop.citybrewtours.com to get another box, especially coming up. We got some great cities to wrap out this year, or get your holiday boxes if you haven't gotten those yet already. Glenn, any last minute words of wisdom?
I feel like there's been so much wisdom the last 10 minutes. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching, and come back next month.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish with RJ. Take your beer and run like heck.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everyone, take your beer, run like heck. See you guys next month.
That's now the go-to closing statement for all live streams.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it. Take your beer and run like heck.
Or
So
run like hell. You can also say run like hell.
yeah,
I'm gonna take my beer and run like hell. But I appreciate the G-rated version there as well.
So with that, take your beer, run like hell.
Yeah, run like hell.
There you go.